Pam Bondi walks off The View after heated clash with Joy Behar. Last night's episode of The View witnessed an unprecedented legal confrontation when former Attorney General Pam Bondi walked off the show after Joy Behar made accusations that triggered immediate legal action. The seasoned prosecutor didn't just defend herself. She exposed something so legally damaging about The View's research practices that the show now faces multiple lawsuits. But what started as a discussion about justice reform would reveal shocking evidence of how the show deliberately spreads defamatory content about conservative women. The ABC studios were tense from the moment Pam Bondi arrived that morning. The former Florida Attorney General was there to discuss criminal justice reform and her work with trafficking victims. But Joy Behar had prepared what she called the truth about this blonde hypocrite. A sound engineer later revealed that Joy had spent the previous evening with opposition researchers who'd allegedly been paid to find anything that makes her look corrupt. The makeup department reported an unusual atmosphere, with Bondi maintaining professional composure while overhearing staff members making derogatory comments about another Trump blonde and legally blonde goes to prison. One producer was overheard saying, "Joy's going to eat her alive," to which another responded, "She better. We paid enough for this dirt." Therefore, when the cameras began rolling, everyone knew this would be more than a typical interview. The show opened with its standard Hot Topic segment, but Joy made several pointed remarks about corrupt prosecutors who think they're above the law and bleached blonde ambition in politics. The audience laughed uncertainly, not yet understanding these were direct attacks on Bondi, who was waiting backstage. Whoopi tried to maintain neutrality, but Joy kept returning to themes of Florida corruption and prosecutors who protect the powerful. Sarah Haynes looked increasingly uncomfortable, later revealing she'd seen the research packet on Bondi and found it disturbing and potentially illegal. Sunny Hostin, despite being a former prosecutor herself, seemed eager for the confrontation, having prepared her own prosecutorial-style questions. "Please welcome former Attorney General Pam Bondi," Whoopi announced carefully. Bondi walked out with measured confidence, her years of courtroom experience evident in her bearing. The audience response was mixed but respectful. She greeted each host professionally, though her handshake with Joy was notably brief, her prosecutorial instincts clearly sensing the ambush ahead. "Pam, welcome to The View," Whoopi began diplomatically. "You've had quite a career in law enforcement." But before Bondi could respond, Joy launched her attack. "Career? Is that what we're calling taking bribes from Trump? $25,000 to drop the Trump University investigation. Let's start there," Joy said aggressively. Bondi's expression didn't change, but her voice carried the authority of someone who'd prosecuted hundreds of cases. "That's a completely false characterization that was investigated and dismissed. But since you want to discuss corruption, should we talk about the $50,000 your husband's company donated to Democrats while getting city contracts?" she replied calmly. "That's different," Joy said quickly. "How? Explain to me the legal distinction. I'm genuinely curious about your prosecutorial reasoning, considering you have no legal training," Bondi responded. The immediate reversal set the tone. Joy's face reddened. "I don't need a law degree to recognize corruption," she snapped. "Apparently you do, since you just committed defamation on live television. The Trump University matter was thoroughly investigated by the FBI, the Florida Ethics Commission, and the Department of Justice. All cleared. But you just stated as fact that I took bribes. That's defamation per se," Bondi said, pulling out her phone. "It's free speech," Joy claimed. "Actually, it's not. Stating false criminal accusations as fact on television isn't protected speech. It's actionable defamation. Should I have my law clerk begin drafting the complaint now, or would you like to retract?" Bondi asked. Therefore, the legal framework was established immediately. The audience sensed they were watching something beyond typical television conflict. But Joy doubled down on her strategy. "You protected Jeffrey Epstein's associates," Joy accused. Bondi stood up slowly, her movement controlled but commanding. "Say that again. On camera. Clearly. I want it on record," she demanded. Joy hesitated. The studio went silent. Bondi's presence filled the space with prosecutorial authority that made everyone uncomfortable. "I said what I said," Joy mumbled. "No, you made a specific legal accusation. As a former prosecutor, I take allegations about protecting sex traffickers extremely seriously. So either provide evidence right now, or I'm walking off this set and driving directly to my attorney's office, Bondi said. She pulled out a document. This is a list of every Epstein associate I prosecuted. 17 convictions, 0 dismissals, 0 plea bargains. Meanwhile, you've had how many convicted sex offenders on this show as guests? She asked. That's not relevant, Joy protested. Isn't it? You're accusing me of protecting predators while you've literally celebrated them on this stage. Should I name them? Bondi asked. Whoopi intervened nervously. Let's not get into naming. Why not? Joy wants to discuss protecting predators. Let's discuss her interview with Harvey Weinstein, where she called him a teddy bear, or her defense of Roman Polanski, or her comment that Bill Clinton's accusers were tramps. Should we discuss those? Bondi pressed. The tactical brilliance was evident. Bondi had come prepared with receipts for every possible attack. But then she revealed something that changed everything. You know what's interesting, Joy? I have your opposition research file. The one your producers paid $30,000 for. Want to know what's in it? Bondi asked. Joy's face went white. That's privileged, she said weakly. Actually, it's not. When you use illegally obtained information for defamation, privilege doesn't apply. It becomes evidence of malice. First-year law school stuff, Bondi replied. She read from her phone. Quote, no actual evidence of Bondi corruption, but Joy wants us to imply it anyway. Create narrative around Trump donation even though it was cleared. That's from your own researcher admitting you have no evidence, she said. The audience gasped. Several people stood to leave. The revelation that Joy knew the accusations were false before making them was legally devastating. But Bondi was just beginning her prosecutorial demolition. Here's another quote. Joy wants us to find anything on Bondi's personal life. Affairs, addiction, anything embarrassing. You paid people to investigate my personal life looking for dirt. That's criminal stalking under Florida law, Bondi continued. You can't prove that, Joy said desperately. I can and I will. Your researcher kept recordings of your conversations. He's already provided them to law enforcement. You're on tape saying, I don't care if it's true, I want her destroyed. That's conspiracy to commit defamation, Bondi replied. She turned to the audience. This is what The View has become. A platform where hosts pay for opposition research to destroy guests they disagree with politically. Where truth is optional if the narrative is compelling. Where defamation is entertainment, she told them directly. Now, if you're watching this and you've ever been defamed, if you've ever had lies spread about you by people with platforms, you're not powerless. Share this moment. Click that subscribe button. Your simple act of subscribing and sharing helps expose these practices. When you click subscribe, when you share this video, you're helping someone else who might be facing defamation. You're showing them that lies can be challenged, that truth can win. Every subscription, every share, reaches someone who needs to see that they can fight back against defamation. Please, take just a moment to subscribe and share, because your action right now could help someone else stand up to lies being spread about them. Together, we can demand accountability from media. Your subscribe click isn't just supporting content, it's supporting truth and justice for everyone who's been defamed by powerful platforms. Bondi continued with renewed authority. Joy, you've spent this entire segment making criminal accusations without evidence. That's not journalism or entertainment. It's defamation. And unlike your previous victims, I have the legal training and resources to hold you accountable, she said. This is intimidation, Joy claimed. This is prosecution. There's a difference. Intimidation is threatening consequences without basis. Prosecution is pursuing consequences for actual crimes. You've committed actual crimes today, Bondi replied. She pulled out another document. This is a cease and desist letter my firm prepared yesterday, anticipating your defamation. We knew you'd lie because you always lie about conservative women. The pattern is documented and actionable, she said. I don't always, Joy started. Nancy Grace, whom you called a corrupt prosecutor who got children killed. Sarah Palin, whom you accused of taking Russian money. Kayleigh McEnany, whom you said committed treason. All false. All defamatory. All actionable. You've created a pattern of defaming conservative women that shows actual malice, Bondi interrupted. But then she delivered the most devastating revelation. Your executive producer contacted me yesterday. He's willing to testify that you insisted on making false accusations despite legal warnings. He has recordings of you saying, I don't care if she sues. Disney will pay for it. That's admission of malice, she said. Joy looked at her producer in shock. The betrayal was visible on her face. But Bondi showed no mercy. You thought you could destroy my reputation with lies because you've done it before without consequences. But I'm not a politician trying to avoid conflict. I'm a prosecutor who knows how to build cases. And Joy, I've been building this case since the moment I agreed to come on your show, she said. You set me up, Joy accused. No, you set yourself up. I just documented it. Every lie you told, every false accusation you made, every piece of evidence you fabricated. It's all recorded, witnessed, and legally actionable, Bondi replied. She walked toward the exit, then turned back. I'm done with this show. But Joy, I'm not done with you. The lawsuit will be filed within the hour. The criminal referral for conspiracy to commit defamation is already with the Manhattan DA. Your 40-year career ends today, she said. You can't do this, Joy pleaded. I'm not doing anything. You did it to yourself the moment you decided that lying about people was acceptable journalism. Every defamatory statement, every false accusation, every paid opposition research file. You created this moment, Bondi replied. She looked directly at the camera. To everyone who's been defamed by this show, who's had their reputation destroyed by lies, who's been attacked for their political beliefs, today you get justice. The statute of limitations for defamation is 1 year. Come forward. Join the lawsuit. Let's end this practice forever, she said. But Joy made one final desperate attempt. Security, remove her, she called out. Touch me and add assault to the lawsuit, Bondi said calmly to the approaching guards. I'm leaving voluntarily, but if you lay hands on me, that's battery, and I will prosecute. The guards backed away immediately. The entire studio was in chaos. Multiple audience members were recording on their phones. The crew looked stunned. Even Sunny Hostin, despite being a former prosecutor, seemed shocked by the legal devastation she'd witnessed. This is still my show, Joy said pathetically. Was your show? Past tense. You can't host a show from prison, Joy? And criminal defamation with conspiracy charges carries jail time, Bondi corrected. She walked off to a standing ovation from half the audience. The other half sat in stunned silence. The divide was visible and decisive. The show had literally split apart in real time. We need to go to commercial immediately, Whoopi announced urgently. Within minutes, #Bondi destroys Behar was trending globally. Legal analysts were discussing the implications on every network. The evidence Bondi had presented was overwhelming and damning. ABC suspended The View immediately. Their legal department recognized the catastrophic liability Bondi had exposed. The network faced not just one lawsuit, but potentially dozens from everyone Joy had defamed over the years. The lawsuit was filed that afternoon. It sought $100 million in damages and included evidence that made conviction virtually certain. The criminal referral led to Joy's arrest 2 days later. The image of her in handcuffs became the defining photo of media accountability. But the real impact went beyond Joy Behar. Every media personality who'd made a career of defaming people suddenly faced potential consequences. The practice of using opposition research to destroy guests ended overnight. The entire media landscape shifted because one prosecutor said enough. Bondi held a press conference surrounded by 17 other women Joy had defamed. Each told their story. Each presented evidence. The pattern was undeniable and shocking. Joy Behar had systematically defamed conservative women for years, believing her platform made her untouchable. This isn't about politics, Bondi said. This is about the weaponization of media to destroy people through lies. Today, that practice ends. Today, consequences begin, she declared. Joy tried to apologize through her lawyer, but it was too late. The evidence was too overwhelming. Her statement that she was just expressing opinions fell apart against the documented evidence of her knowing the accusations were false. The trial became a landmark case for defamation law. The jury awarded $150 million in damages, the largest defamation judgment in television history. Joy Behar lost everything. Her career, her reputation, her fortune. The View was canceled permanently. No amount of rebranding could save a show exposed as a defamation platform. The studio became a memorial to media accountability, a reminder that lies have consequences. Meanwhile, Bondi's stand inspired legislative change. New laws were passed requiring media platforms to verify accusations before broadcast. The Bondi standard became the legal benchmark for defamation cases. Universities began teaching the confrontation as a masterclass in legal preparation. Law schools analyzed how Bondi had gathered evidence while allowing Joy to commit defamation on live television before revealing her documentation. But the deepest impact was on public discourse. The era of casual defamation ended because one prosecutor demonstrated that lies could be prosecuted. The practice of destroying people through false accusations became legally dangerous. Joy Behar never returned to public life. Her name became synonymous with the consequences of defamation. The woman who'd spent decades destroying others through lies was destroyed by the truth. When asked about the confrontation years later, Bondi said simply, "I spent my career prosecuting criminals." Joy Behar thought her platform put her above the law. She learned otherwise. The empty chair Joy left represented more than her absence. It symbolized the end of consequence-free defamation, the death of weaponized lies, the conclusion of media platforms destroying people without evidence. And Pam Bondi, the prosecutor who'd been ambushed with false accusations, had turned the ambush into the most successful defamation case in media history. She'd shown that legal training trumped platform power, that evidence defeated lies, that justice could prevail even against the most established media figures. The image of her walking off became iconic not for its drama, but for its dignity. She'd faced defamation with documentation, lies with law, accusations with evidence. She'd demonstrated that sometimes the best defense wasn't denial but prosecution. Years later, media historians would mark that moment as when American media was forced to choose between entertainment and truth. When platforms could no longer destroy people with impunity. When defamation stopped being profitable and started being prosecutable. And Joy Behar, who'd thought she could destroy a former attorney general with purchased opposition research and false accusations, learned the hardest lesson of her life. When you attack a prosecutor who's spent decades building cases, you better make sure you're not committing crimes on camera. Because Pam Bondi hadn't come to defend herself. She'd come to prosecute. And like all her best cases, she'd let the defendant convict herself before revealing she'd been building the case all along. The courthouse where Joy was tried became a pilgrimage site for defamation victims. They came to see where media lies finally faced justice, where platform privilege met prosecutorial power and lost, where truth defeated defamation in the most public way possible. And Pam Bondi, who'd been invited to The View for an ambush, had turned it into an ambush of her own. Not through anger or emotion, but through evidence and law. She'd shown that sometimes the best walk-off isn't dramatic, but legal. That sometimes the best response to lies isn't denial, but prosecution. The View's time slot was given to a legal affairs show with strict accuracy requirements. Joy Behar's chair was removed and donated to a law school as a reminder that defamation has consequences. And the name Joy Behar became a legal warning, a cautionary tale told in law schools about what happens when media figures think they're above the law. In the end, Pam Bondi had done more than walk off a show. She'd walked American media into a new era of accountability, one defamation lawsuit at a time.